advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Vietnam. Hello, Eliana.
Hello, Alma. I'm Eliana Faith Sebastian from EBC Vietnam Bureau, giving you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines, the Food and Drug Administration warned of false negative and false positive results from the use of self-administered COVID test kits that did not pass through government screening.
At least 11 people were killed after a small truck packed with partygoers, including children, overturned in the southern Philippines.
A massive tunnel boring machine designed to cut through Malaysia's peninsular mountain range was installed, laying the path for a China-backed railway project to be completed by the end of 2026.
A landmine hunting rat that was awarded a gold medal for heroism for clearing ordnance from the Cambodian countryside has died, his charity said Tuesday.
The Food and Drug Administration on Thursday warned of false negative and false positive results from the use of self-administered COVID-19 test kits that didn't pass through government screening. In a televised interview, FDA Office in Charge Director General Oscar G. Gutierrez Jr. said a false negative COVID test result could give the tested individual a false sense of security that he or she cannot infect others. Let's listen in.
Sa merkado ay nagpe-perform po ayon sa inaprubahan ng FDA. Pero kailangan maintindihan po natin na talagang may mga pagkakataon na may tinatawag na false negative, false positive. Kaya po importante po yung guidelines ng DOH ay masunod natin. Kasi pagka false negative po, false sense of security po ang mangyayari. Akala mo ikaw ay hindi ka pwedeng makahawa. Pag naman false positive naman, unnecessary panic naman po on the part of the patient. Kaya po, importante po na sundin po natin ang ilalabas na guidelines ng DOH. Kung meron pong mga produkto na sa merkado na hindi naman dumaan sa FDA, hindi po natin masisiguro yan.
Still, he noted false positive or false negative results are possible even for FDA-approved products, which is why he said the guidelines to be released by the Department of Health for self-administered COVID test kits will be crucial.
The Manila City government has declared a one-week health break from online and physical classes for students in the city from January 14 to 21 under Executive Order Number 07. In a press conference on Thursday, Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Dumagoso said classes will be suspended due to the rising number of people getting infected with COVID. Let's take a look.
Mataas po ang anxiety level ng mga magulang para sa kanilang mag-aaral na estudyante. At ganun din yung anxiety level ng mga guro. Marami tayong mga guro ngayon infected. Marami rin tayong mga estudyante infected ng COVID-19. So, the City of Manila is now declaring a health break. Yes. Starting tomorrow, January 14 to January 21, wala pong pasok, whether online or physical classes, all levels. para magka-health break naman ang lahat. Mabawasan ang anxiety level ng teacher at makapagpahinga yung mga teacher. I know most of them are doing online despite their infection.
In Thailand, the country will introduce a $9 entry fee for foreign visitors from April, according to officials on Wednesday, even as the kingdom seeks to lure travelers back and repair its COVID-battered tourism sector. The new 300 baht or $9 charge will be incorporated into airfares. Government spokesman Thanakorn Wanbunkongchana said in a statement, tourism revenues are forecast at $39 billion to $54 billion this year. According to the Ministry of Tourism and Sports, around $24 billion of which is expected from foreign travelers. An estimated 5 million foreign tourists are expected to enter the kingdom in 2022 if current travel patterns remain the same, according to the ministry's forecast, down from nearly 40 million a year before the pandemic. Authorities have extended the suspension of a no quarantine test and go scheme until further notice. But they will have also extended the sandbox scheme, adding 3 southern beach destinations to the island of Phuket. Under the program, fully vaccinated travelers spend 7 nights in the sandbox area, then can move elsewhere in Thailand, assuming they test negative for COVID.
Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio extended to June 30 the modified guidelines for the liquor ban, but did not reimpose the curfew that was lifted last year. The directive followed a previous executive order last week, but also extended to September the non-holding of non-essential face-to-face gathering by any government agency or office here. Duterte Carpio signed on Wednesday Executive Order or EO number 1, series of 2022, extending EO 59. The EO bans the selling of liquor from 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day. No person or entity shall sell liquor or any alcoholic beverages during this period. EO 1 also maintained a 24-hour daily ban on serving liquor for consumption in bars, restaurants, sari-sari stores, wet markets, videoke, and other business establishments, and drinking liquor in public places, including but not limited to streets, alleys, pathways, and outside of gates. Meanwhile, there was no reimposition of curfew time in all public places in the city. The new directive was issued in anticipation of the expected upgrade to Alert Level 3 beginning on Friday up to the end of the month. 3 other Mindanao cities, Butuan, Cagayan de Oro, and Cotabato, were elevated to the same alert level.
Staying in the country, Cebu Pacific canceled more domestic flights on Thursday, citing workforce shortage. In a statement, it said Cebu Pacific continues to manage the impact of COVID-19 on its workforce, with employees who are either sick or under home quarantine. Affected passengers have been informed through the contact details provided in their booking, and they may conveniently choose their preferred option through the managed booking portal on the Cebu Pacific website.
At least 11 people were killed after a small truck packed with partygoers, including children, overturned in the southern Philippines, police said Thursday. The vehicle was traveling to a beachside resort on Mindanao Island for a postponed Christmas party on Wednesday when the driver lost control after the brakes apparently failed on a downhill section off-road. Around 50 people were crammed into the truck, most of them in the open tray, when it veered off the road and into a tree. The vehicle then flipped over onto a pile of rocks. Balingasag Municipal Police Chief Major Teodoro de Oro said 11 people were killed, including a 3-year-old child, de Oro said. Adding police were seeking to confirm another 3 deaths. Scores of other passengers were injured, including a dozen children. The driver, who was also hurt and tried to hide after receiving medical treatment, was arrested and will face charges.
Meanwhile, the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, has granted a compassionate special permit for the COVID-19 treatment drug Bexovid, the first generic version of Pfizer's Paxlovid. Bexovid may be used for individuals with mild to moderate symptoms of COVID, ages 12 years old and above. It can also reduce the risk of hospitalization and deaths by 88 to 89% when taken within 3 to 5 days from the onset of symptoms. Take a look.
Na inaprubahan na ng Food and Drug Administration or FDA ang compassionate special permit ng Bexovid, ang first generic version ng Pfizer Paxlovid. Ano po ang implikasyon nito? Magiging mas mura ang gamutan at ma-access ang gamot na ito sa DOH at government hospitals. Mapabawasan ng Bexovid ang risk ng hospitalization or death by 89% kung may bibigay sa pasyente sa loob ng unang 3 araw ng sintomas.
At ito ay unang nakita po at na-examine at na-research doon sa Pfizer sa USA at nakita nila sa data ho nila sa lahat ng mga pasyenteng nabigyan po nito, nag-reduce ang kanilang hospitalization and death to about 90%. Ang unang antiviral kasi na lumabas sa market, sa merkado, ay yung molnupiravir. Isa din yung antiviral drug na ginawa ng Merck. Pero ngayon sa kakalabas ngayon ng mga resulta, mga 30 to 40% ang kanyang reduction in hospitalization and death. So itong Bexcovid ngayon, ito yung trade name ng nirmatrelvir, o sa US ito yung Paxlovid. Itong antiviral na po ito yung may bigay sa mga pasyenteng with mild and moderate, lalong-lalo na sa mga high risk, no? Kasi talagang bababa ang kanyang hospitalization and even death. Ngayon, itong Paxlovid to be given in 5 days at nasa isang package nga yan sa itong Bexclovid or Paxlovid for the next 5 days. Ito ay talagang makakabigay ng medyo pag-asa sa ating 2022, lalong-lalo na itong pag-harap natin sa COVID-19. At least meron na tayong mga gamot aside from the vaccination that we are pursuing.
Only fully vaccinated individuals, with some exceptions, will be allowed to take public transportation beginning January 17. Let's take a look.
Ang ating mga enforcers ng LTO, LTFRB, at ang ating HPG, at lalo-lalo ng ating AYAC, ay siya magpapatupad nitong polisiya nato. Humingi na rin tayo po ng tulong sa ating PNP para tulungan tayo sa pagpapatupad nito. Ngayon yun po ay para sa ating road sector. Ngayon po sa ating mga riles at sa ating mga maritime at aviation sector, bago po kayo makapasok sa mga terminal nila o sa mga stasyon nila ay check na po nila kung meron kayong vaccination card at ID. Ang ating pong pinagbabawalan ay ang paggamit po ng ating pampublikong sasakyan. Hindi namin po ang pinagbabawalan ang right to travel ng bawat mamamayan natin. Ang hindi lang po pwede ay ang hindi mga bakunado na gumamit ng pampublikong sasakyan. Ngayon po, ito po ay naglabas na po ang ating DOJ ng opinion dito na sinasabi po na ang pagbabawal nato ng yung ating policy po ng no vax, no ride ay alinsunod po sa police power po ng mga LGU. Kung matatandaan nyo, Yusek Rocky, ang MMC po ay naglabas na po ng Memorandum Circular 2022-01 nila kung saan po sinasabi nila na nililimitahan nila po ang paglabas ng mga hindi bakunadong tao. Ngayon, ito pong aming department order ay alinsunod doon at pagpapatupad po ng mga ordinansa ng 17 mga LGU na nasa loob po ng NCR. Ginagawa po natin to, ang tangi po nating layunin dito ayon kay Secretary Togade ay para mapanatili pong ligtas ang ating pampublikong sasakyan. Kasi po pag hindi natin ginawa ito at nagkaroon po ng outbreak or transmission sa ating pampublikong sasakyan, mapipilitan na naman po tayong isara ito. Katulad po nung nangyari noon sa MRT, yung tumaas po yung kaso ng kanilang mga COVID positive doon. Ngayon, pag sinara po nito, sino po ba ang maaapektuhan nito? Ang maaapektuhan po nito ay yung mga mamamayan natin.
And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Eliana and I will be back right after this. Welcome back. A massive tunnel boring machine designed to cut through Malaysia's peninsular mountain range was installed Thursday, laying the path for a China-backed railway project to be completed by the end of 2026. Officials launched the giant 1,600-ton mechanical digging structure by a hill in Bentong, Central Pahang State, as they stood in front of two tunnels at an East Coastal Rail Rink, or ECRL, construction site. Let's listen in.
To witness the TBM to be installed, and we should commence the construction work on the somewhere in March this year. Actually in May, because March we need to do some installation. We still need to construct the tunnel for another 50 meters before we can move in the entire TBM machine. So from there we need to make some adjustment. We expect that everything, we get all the construction will officially start after May. Okay, as of December last year, we have completed 26.49%. That is the figures that I can give you now. And we must complete this project by 31st December 2026. So the immediate task, the most critical work is to complete the tunnel. This is the most critical part where we need to complete this tunnel, okay, within three years.
Armed with a cutter head nearly 9 meters high, the 266 meters long structure is touted to dig through more than 16 kilometers or 9.94 miles of dirt and rock, a process that will take 3 years. The Malaysian unit of the China-owned China Communications Construction, or CCCC, was contracted to build the 50 billion ringgit or $12 billion 665-kilometer track. The ECRL is part of China's Belt and Road Trade Initiative, a $1 trillion move to improve Beijing's links with countries across the world by building ports, railways, airports, and industrial parks. Once completed, it will ferry passengers and freight past 20 stations across 4 Malaysian states, from the country's main shipping hub of Port Klang to near the country's border with Thailand. The project is already 26% complete, with the rest of the railway expected to be completed by the end of 2026. Construction of the line began in 2017 but was put on hold after landmark 2018 polls led to a new government realigning the track with budget cuts.
Indonesia, the world's largest thermal coal exporter, said it will allow some operators to resume shipping out the commodity, a senior minister said Thursday, pointing to a relaxation of a ban decreed on January 1. 37 vessels loaded with coal have already been released for export as of Wednesday, according to a statement by Coordinating Minister Luhut Panjaitan. Indonesia's export ban was imposed after coal miners failed to meet their obligations towards the domestic market and state electricity company PLN warned of looming blackouts. The minister said companies that have met the requirements to sell a portion of their 2021 output to the state electricity company for domestic power generation would be allowed to resume exporting. But fines will be imposed against operators who had failed to meet their contractual obligation to PLN. Indonesia announced it would ban shipments of coal used in power generation for a month, starting from January 1, sending markets into panic. The decision was imposed after coal miners failed to meet their obligation to set aside 25% of output for the domestic market, putting some 10 million customers at risk of widespread blackouts. Coal producers have little incentive to sell coal on the domestic market, where the price is capped at $70 a metric ton, far below global prices. The ban sent the market price soaring in several countries. Depending on Indonesia's coal, urged the government to reconsider its decision. Japan and the Philippines warned the ban would seriously affect their economies.
And the United States on Monday called for a prison sentence for Myanmar's ousted civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi, an affront to justice. And they again renewed a call for her release. Take a look.
The Burmese military's regime unjust arrests, conviction and sentencing of Aung San Suu Kyi is an affront to justice and the rule of law. We call on the regime to immediate release Aung San Suu Kyi and all those unjustly detained, including other democratically elected leaders.
Under house arrest since the February 1 military coup, the 76-year-old former leader was sentenced to 4 years in prison, in the latest in a slew of charges that risk sending her to prison for decades. She was found guilty of 2 charges related to illegally importing and owning walkie-talkies and one of breaking coronavirus rules. Besides Monday's cases, she's also facing multiple counts of corruption, each of which is punishable by 15 years in jail, and of violating the Official Secrets Act. Junta spokesman Major General Zhao Mintun confirmed the verdicts and sentences and told AFP Suu Kyi would remain under house arrest while other cases against her proceed.
Nearly 1,600 tons of teak from Myanmar were exported to American companies last year, circumventing U.S. sanctions imposed to deny the junta millions of dollars in profits, an activist group said Tuesday. Among the most popular type of grown in Myanmar wood is teak, long favored by shipbuilders and furniture makers for its durability in wet environments. Teak imports to the United States were supposed to be barred under targeted sanctions, but activist group Justice for Myanmar found that nearly 1,600 tons of timber reached American companies between February and the end of November last year. Justice for Myanmar called on the U.S. government to ban all Myanmar timber imports. It is likely that even more teak is being exported to the U.S. via third countries such as China, the report said. According to the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, a global monitoring group, Myanmar received almost $100 million in revenues from taxes and royalties on the timber trade in the 2017 to 2018 financial year, while revenues for the entire forestry industry totaled $322 million. Besides food, resource-rich Myanmar is replete with jade and gold mines, where the revenues have long been overseen by military-affiliated enterprises that funnel profits towards the powerful army. The United States imposed sanctions on Myanmar's military and its affiliated companies, including Myanmar Timber Enterprise, which manages timber sales across the country.
And thousands of people were left homeless after a fire gutted parts of a Rohingya refugee camp in Bangladesh, destroying about 1,200 houses. Take a look.
Jadi farutilla to indoriore ana gori on lamiola ayoy bugo furiyoy to yara gairo horgin ba fuanjanyum son di gor family son di solo nor for ara kisu nela na bari bari na bari begina dul furiyoy.
Allah sama yang host kori din mujhe haas kori are garami bengo duniya jure kicha jala diyan dinan hat jurailam Allah odin manisa jurailam Allah dui bori sandashil Allah kicha duniya lere samai di bidesh di balla bole hoy.
The Commission on Elections, or the COMELEC, on Thursday conducted another trusted build for the vote counting machines and the Consolidated Canvassing System, or CCS, in Manila. Commissioner Marlon Casquejo, steering committee head of the 2022 elections, said the VCMs and CCS are two components of the automated election system for the May 9, 2022 national and local elections. Let's take a look.
This is the second trusted build of our two components, that is our CCS and the VCM. So there are improvements, or we have found some improvements that needs to be corrected when we conducted our field tests as well as our mock elections conducted last December. So as we have said earlier before, when we conduct our trusted build in Huntsville, Alabama, if there is a need to do the trusted build because of some issues which involve source code, then we need to do another trusted build. So this time, we are going to conduct another trusted build, but only for the two AES components. With regards to our EMS, there is no problem with our EMS. That involves the configuration of our system. In our CCS, there are some issues to be resolved which involve source code. So that is why we need to do another trusted build, as well as in our vote counting machines.
Casquejo said Thursday's event lasted for 4 hours. The source codes were stored in flash drives and were sealed in envelopes to be escrowed at the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. The envelopes were temporarily stored at the main COMELEC office in Intramuros, Manila. The trusted build is the process of assembling the overall program that will govern the entire AES using the reviewed components. ASEAN in Focus will be back after a short break.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Ang Omicron variant ay isa na ngayong malaking banta sa 2022. Ang kamakailang pagtaas ng mga kaso na dulot ng variant na ito ay maaaring magkaroon ng negatibong epekto sa paglago ng ekonomiya sa unang quarter ng taon. Dagdag pa rito, ang pananalasa na dulot ng bagyong Odette ay nagdulot din ng pinsala sa ekonomiya ng bansa. And as the May elections are nearing, the business sector is concerned about where the Philippine economy will go with the candidates receiving a majority on May 9. But how can entrepreneurs ensure their company's long-term viability despite the current situations? What innovations are required for each company's long-term success during these times? In this episode, we'll tackle those questions with our guest, Mr. George Barcelon, President of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Running a government is quite complicated. Ang dami mga key departments. You know, what we're looking for is really who are the people that would be gravitating to some of these candidates.
All these, this episode, Open for Business.
Welcome back. Vietnam's incense village is a dazzling pink as workers prepare fragrant sticks for the Lunar New Year. But strict rules to stop the spread of COVID-19 are now dulling its luster. Take a look.
Nghĩa là ở đâu cũng dịch, người ta ngăn chặn hết thì là không đi được, hàng ô tô người ta toàn là ấy, cho nên không đi được, cho nên là phải chậm hơn. Các ô tô mọi khi là vận chuyển đi các nơi ấy, ví dụ như là Thanh Hóa, Nghệ An hoặc là ở Lạng Sơn ấy, đấy, đi các nơi chứ không phải ở đây. thì vẫn hy vọng rồi, nhưng mà chắc là trước sau thì là cũng trở lại bình thường, vì ở đây là coi như là tiêm mũi 3 tất cả rồi. Chỗ các chú thế nào không có nhờ, ở đây là mũi 3 hết rồi.
Thousands of trucks carrying fruit were stuck Friday at Vietnam's main freight border, crossing with China after Beijing tightened rules on imported goods because of the pandemic. Lorries loaded with thousands of tons of dragon fruit, jackfruit, mango, and other produce are languishing at the crossing in Vietnam's northern Lang Son province. Some of the drivers say they have been waiting for days or even months to cross. Let's take a look.
Mình giờ mình chạy hướng mà chiếc xe 50-60 bạc giờ đi kiếm đồng vợ nuôi con nhá. Tiếp ra em khổ cực rồi chứ. Bây giờ phải ráng đi giờ cần mất tiền tốn kém cái xe không tốt. Nó phải tốn hơn nữa. Ví dụ xe nó qua thì mình chi phí nó ít, mà xe không qua nằm lâu thì nó hết chi phí của chủ xe rồi chứ. Dạ chứ. Hàng hóa thì cũng vẫn sợ chứ, không thì vẫn không, nhưng mà giờ nó nằm trong công mình đâu có biết được đâu, mình chỉ coi ở ngoài thôi. Chứ giờ mà ở trong này mình ở trong công nữa sao mình môi được, mình coi chỉ có coi ở lớp ngoài thôi, mình nhìn lớp ngoài mình nó không có được đâu, chứ giờ ở trong là không biết rồi, khó tay rồi.
Mình bây giờ cứ đỗ ở đây chờ thì nói chung là không biết thế nào. Mình cứ tính vào 7 ngày nhưng mà có khi hơn, vì một ngày xe ở trong bãi này người ta xuất đi được bao nhiêu đó. Nó không đi được thì mình cũng phải chịu như nào này. Nhưng chủ hàng bảo là lên đây mà một tuần mà không đi được thì lại phải chở quay lại và bãi nhà người ta, để người ta ví dụ như bán lẻ thanh lý đi, thanh lý bớt đi để cho nó đỡ và thiệt hại kinh tế. Đó là như mình hiểu ngắn một tí là cơ bản là tại Covid, đổi vào tật có gì chơi chứ còn mình.
Earlier in the week, Lang Son provincial authorities issued a statement advising provinces and businesses not to send goods to the border until the end of the month. The statement said the jam was due to Chinese authorities' tougher pandemic control measures against people and vehicles entering the country. China has been testing cold chain imported foods for traces of COVID-19 since 2020, though the World Health Organization says there is only a very low chance of the virus being passed on this way. Several local governments in China have said they have detected COVID traces on dragon fruit imported from Vietnam. According to official figures, Vietnam earned $3.5 billion from the exports of fruits and vegetables last year, a slight increase on the previous years.
Also this week, President Duterte said he wants to correct a law requiring the assessment of reports on disaster areas on a state of calamity is declared before he steps down from office in June. He expressed frustration over anything that hinders or delays government response. He said the law needed to be repealed to allow the next administration to better deal with all kinds of disasters. Take a look.
We were having a quandary because before you can declare a proclamation or something, or you give the money, there has to be evaluation of damage. Eh, paano yan? Kailangan ng tao kaagad kasi, well, in places where they can buy, like the urban areas, marami silang mabilihan. Pero ito, yung pera na lang para makapaggalaw sila so that they can move and hopefully recover faster than expected. I hope that we can correct these things before we go out. Propose something like this, yung mga corrective measures sa batas. Kasi alam, so the next time na wala na tayo, at least yung next administration would be in a position to deal with the problem faster and more sensible. That provision in the law, it's really silly. That's what I call a silly law. I'm not referring to the present Congress. But kung anong Congress yan, ay hindi talaga pinag-isipan ng husto.
In December, the president described waiting for the assessment of reports as a hindrance, a legal obstacle that delayed his declaration of a state of calamity in areas battered by the typhoon and prevented the government from acting immediately. Typhoon Odette pummeled several provinces, particularly in the Visayas and Mindanao last month. President Duterte declared a state of calamity in Mimaropa, Region 4B, Western Visayas, Region 6, Central Visayas, Region 7, Eastern Visayas, Region 8, Northern Mindanao, Region 10, and the Caraga region, which is Region 13, on December 21st.
The BRP ang Pangulo or ACS-25, the presidential yacht, which has been repurposed into a floating hospital shortly after the onslaught of Typhoon Odette last month, has so far provided medical aid to 842 patients in Siargao and the Dinagat Islands. Speaking to President Duterte during the talk to the people Monday night, National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council or NDRRMC Executive Director Ricardo Halad said the medical team on board the ship has also provided psychosocial first aid to persons severely affected or disturbed by the typhoon. Let's listen in.
Shown in the picture is the deployment of BRP ang Pangulo, Mr. President. Ito ay dumating doon sa vicinity ng Siargao Islands noong December 22 and may dala-dala rin itong 25 tons of assorted cargos or relief goods. And ito ay nagsisilbi sa island ng Siargao at Dinagat Island. So palipat-lipat siya. Ang services na kanyang in-offer ay medical services at likewise psychosocial first aid. Meron din siyang binibigay na pagkain, hygiene kits at activity kits sa mga pasyente. As of now, it has served 842 patients from Dinagat Island and Siargao Island. Ang mga pasyente, Mr. President, ay dinadala sa kanya gamit ang mga maliliit na bangka.
The BRP ang Pangulo is part of the 27-ship flotilla deployed by the Navy to help communities battered by Odette. The ship left Manila on December 19, carrying thousands of relief goods and other essential items intended for the affected population in Mindanao. Navy spokesperson Commander Benjo Negranza earlier said they used their resources to assist disaster-stricken areas to ensure the timely delivery of relief goods to the typhoon victims. Halad said the government has so far utilized 28 air assets of the Air Force, 23 ships from the Coast Guard, and 31 flights of Boeing 737 cargo aircraft to help in the transport of relief goods and supplies. Aside from this, 138 land transport and commercial sea vessels are also helping in the effort.
The news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Eliana and I will be back right after this.
Perwisyong butas na nasa gitna ng isang kalsada sa barangay Tandang Sora sa Quezon City, tinapalan. Iba't ibang modus at scam sa online, ibubuking. Ang hiling na ayuda ng isang mangingisdang pintor, nirespondehan. Piloto naghahatid ng tulong sa panahon ng kalamidad at pandemya. Ating kilalanin.
Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi. Ito ang Responde, Mata ng Mamamayan.
Welcome back. The final stages of this year's Asian Champions League have been moved to 2023 to allow the region's national teams to prepare for the rescheduled Qatar World Cup, according to officials. The decider of Asia's premier club competition will be played over 2 legs on February 19 and the 26th next year. Governing body, the Asian Football Confederation, said a major factor behind the revised schedule is the Qatar World Cup, which has been moved to winter months, November and December, to avoid the summer heat of the Gulf country. The body also cited uncertainty caused by the Omicron variant, which is driving new outbreaks worldwide and has prompted some Asian countries to implement new travel curbs.
India's Kalan Joshi said the early pace in the Singapore International Golf Thursday, carding a 5-under par 6-7 to take the first round lead. Joshi, who is pacing his second win on the Asian Tour, marked his card with 7 birdies and 2 bogeys to head into the second round with a 2-shot advantage. In second place was unheralded Englishman William Harold, who signed for a 69. The gusty conditions at the Tanah Merah Country Club in the city-state proved to be a challenge, with only 8 players returning with under-par rounds at the $1 million tournament. Ranked 1,715 in the world, Harold was a late entry to the tournament, but he upstaged many of his higher-ranked rivals, including reigning Asian Tour Order of Merit champion Jaz Jane Watanand, who posted at 71 to end the day tied for 5th.
In other news, a landmine hunting rat that was awarded the gold medal for heroism for clearing ordnance from the Cambodian countryside has died, according to the charity. Magawa is a giant African pouched rat. And originally from Tanzania, he helped clear mines from about 225,000 square meters of land, the equivalent of 42 football pitches, over the course of his career. After detecting more than 100 landmines and other explosives, Magawa retired in June last year. Magawa passed away peacefully this weekend at the age of 8, according to the Belgian charity Apopo, which trained him. In a statement, Apopo said Magawa was in good health and spent most of last week playing with his usual enthusiasm. But towards the weekend, he started to slow down, napping more and showing less interest in food in his last days, according to the charity. Now, Apopo trained Magawa to detect the chemical compounds in explosives by rewarding him with tasty treats, his favorites being bananas and peanuts. He would alert deminers by scratching the earth after using his amazing sense of smell. Magawa was able to cover an area the size of a tennis court in 30 minutes, something that would take 4 days using a conventional metal detector. In September 2020, the rodent won the animal equivalent of Britain's highest civilian honor for bravery because of his uncanny knack for uncovering landmines and unexploded ordnance. Magawa was the first rat to receive a medal from British veterinary charity PDSA in the 77 years of the awards, joining an illustrious band of brave canines, felines, and even a pigeon. Millions of landmines were laid in Cambodia during the country's nearly 3-decade civil war, which ended in 1998, causing tens of thousands of casualties.
I don't know, 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock.
Onlookers were in a festive mood as officials of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, assisted by the Philippine Eagle Foundation, or PEF, personnel released a female Philippine eagle back into the wild here. The eagle, named Godod, was released around 10:30 a.m. Monday in an upland barangay here. Almario Kaabay Jr. of the Provincial Environment and Resources Office said is located 550 meters above sea level. Dr. Ernest Duldulao, DNR's Regional Wildlife Rescue Center resident veterinarian, physically examined Godod before she was freed. He is healthy and ready to return to the wild, he said. Godod, before flying back to the wild, stood for several minutes on the wooden release platform and looked back, giving spectators an opportunity to have their last look at the eagle and take photographs and a video. The spectators included officials of the DENR, headed by Ronald Gadot, Assistant Regional Director for Technical Services, PEF personnel, and Godod Mayor Abel Matildo, among others. Dionisio Rago, head of the Community Environment and Natural Resources Office, or Senro Liloy, said the eagle was named after the town since the bird was accidentally trapped and captured by a Subanen farmer on December 5, 2021 in Sitio Maquinarias, Barangay Bunawan. Rago said the wildlife was confirmed as the Philippine eagle based on the photographs given to them by the Godod Municipal Tourism Office. He said they immediately sent a team and retrieved the wildlife in coordination with the 44th Infantry Battalion on December 16 at the height of Typhoon Odette. The eagle, which sustained a superficial injury on her left wing, was placed in a cage for rehabilitation at Rago's office, guided by their veterinarian and the PEF. Godod, while under rehabilitation, was fed daily by only forest ranger Juan Jercel Raffos to limit her interaction with humans. Daily, she consumed 1/4 kilo of meat. Ronald Gadot, Assistant Regional Director for Technical Services, said the area where the eagle was caught indicated that the place was rich in biodiversity as the forest was vast and intact. Gadot said the Philippine eagle is territorial and the span of their territory is at least 10,000 hectares of forest.
Thank you, Eliana, for keeping me company today, Friday. I hope you have a great and safe weekend ahead of you.
Thank you, Alma. Have a safe weekend too. And that's the latest news in the ASEAN region. Once again, I'm Oliana Page Sebastian from EBC Vietnam Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
And I'm Alma Angeles. We'll see you back next Monday. Same time, same place. You're on ASEAN in Focus. Stay in the news because we live in interesting times.